It's an interesting world that we're in right now. People are losing their jobs. People are scrambling to find new work, new industry. And yet we have the internet. The internet's available to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And yet we are stuck in the endless realm of information overload. Endless courses, endless books to read, Exhibit A back there. I've read tons and tons of books over the past few years. And I've also spent thousands of dollars, literally thousands of dollars over the past couple of years on myself, on learning marketing tips, strategies, how to build yourself up, mindset, all this kind of stuff. And there's a pattern occurring. You could see it everywhere. You could see it in Facebook. You could see it on YouTube. You could see it on Instagram, LinkedIn, all this kind of stuff. And what that pattern is people will present something to you. Maybe it's a tip, a strategy, a technique, and they'll share it with you. And they'll say, this, if you implement this strategy, this is how you can get to where I am. But it's a little bit incongruent because that's not exactly what they did to get to where they are. They did something a little bit different. And you'll see this pattern again and again and again. But if you if you look at it, excuse me, if you look at it from about, you could say 20,000 feet above, or after you've spent $20,000 or more, you could see this pattern. And I've been on the inside of multi-million dollar businesses. And I've been basically virtually at the boardroom table listening to these conversations of how they get traffic, how they get new business, all this kind of stuff. And this is what I want to be able to share with you and teach you. You need to have your own system at the end of the day. And if you don't know how to do that, that's where you need to latch on to someone to get you to that point where you can do it on your own. I strongly believe in teaching people how to fish. I don't believe in just giving them fish, giving them shiny objects, and then there you go, be gone. I believe that you have to teach people how to fish. And you can see I built my own website. I didn't hire this out to someone else. There might be some grammatical errors. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a techie, all this kind of stuff. I just figured it out after a while. And like I said, I've spent thousands of dollars working on my mindset and working on sales and all this kind of stuff. And I've also watched thousands of hours on YouTube on marketing. Really, at the end of the day, YouTube is great for that. But at the end of the day, you need to eventually get to the point where you implement everything that you've learned and you put it out there into the universe. So for me, how I came up with this whole idea, authority attracts, is I did an audit on my life. I went, geez, like I feel like in some ways I've had a shitty life. So I'm like, why is that? What happened? How come I got fired from so many jobs? And then I did a life audit and went all the way back to my first instance where things went to hell. And that was when my parents got divorced when I was 7. I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? So I wrote that down. And then I went, what was the next crappy incident? Oh, I remember. I pissed my pants in front of my peers in my first school, first class, getting to know kids, 7 years old, just moved to a new town, and I'm pissing my pants because I'm terrified of the teacher. She won't let me go to the washroom. So I'm like, oh, isn't that fascinating? So I wrote that down. And then a little while later, when I was 14, I wanted to start working. And I used to do paper routes and all this kind of stuff. And I got a job at a gas station. And then I got fired from the gas station. And it was an incorrect firing. They thought I put diesel in a gas tank. When the tow truck driver showed up at the gas station, he looked at me and said, "That's not him." So they let me go with a promise of bringing me back on to a shift later. And I explain all this in detail on my main page, my homepage. And the point is, that was crap. I felt like crap. And I'm like, man, I'm not trusting these people that are in authority. And when my parents got divorced, my dad took his authority. So I was scrambling for years, and it even poured into my marriage. And it got to the point where my wife took off her wedding ring and pitched it at me. She's a huge baseball fan. I think it was a slider. And said, "Here, go use this ring to pay our rent," because I had no job, nothing. So I ended up squatting in an empty apartment, no electricity, no power. This isn't a Ty Lopez. I'm sitting on my mom's couch trying to figure out what to do because my online dating website didn't work out and I only made a few $1,000,000. This isn't, no, I had nothing. I had credit card companies calling me, all this kind of stuff. And I was in an apartment looking around, no power, no electricity. I had to run an extension cord under the door and go, is this it? This is my legacy? I have nothing to show. And it hit me. It just hit me like a ton of bricks that I got to start making some better choices, or I'm going to end up doing a swan dive off of one of the bridges, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to commit suicide. It was a pretty dark place because I just felt like I can't make healthy choices anymore. So then a little voice said, you know what? You do still have the authority to make a better choice. I'm like, well, where did this come from? Then another thought hit me is I need to talk to somebody, a mentor. It wasn't like one mentor, then another mentor, then another mentor, like Ty Lopez again. It was a pastor. I just picked a random church that was close by, met with the pastor, and he said, this is basically a crappy deal. Most people in your situation do not make it. But if you're willing to listen, I'll share a blueprint that you can follow and it'll make your life better. Chances are you're probably not going to get your wife back. Just going to be honest. Chances are your kids are probably never going to talk to you again. But besides that, you can actually live a better life. So I followed his blueprint, and within weeks, I was back home working on my marriage. And within 5 years, I bought my first brand new house. Say brand new, 6 years old. This is the home. And when the crap hit the fan, this was when this house was being built. Isn't that kind of crazy? This house was being built when I was in an empty apartment. So that should blow your mind right there. That your destiny is just around the corner. You just can't see it because you're making crappy choices. So I say all that. I know that's a little bit long, but I say all that because I need you to be in a mind frame where you need to be the owner. You need to be the author of your own destiny. And the way that you do that is you build your own brand. If you're already a consultant, a life coach, whatever, an expert, blah, 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 you need to also incorporate this into your brand because it makes you authentic. When you share your story and how crappy your life is and the lessons that you gleaned out of it, it wasn't my dad's fault. I love my dad. My dad has since passed, but I just went crazy without my dad, without his authority to be able to say, hey, you should be going to bed at 8:00. I'd go to bed at ridiculous times when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. Never learned anything in school. So my point is, I was blaming my dad because of the authority. I had authority issues. I had daddy issues my whole life. So it wasn't until I did a life audit, I realized, oh man, there's some lessons there. And I turned those lessons into a brand and I created NAP, which is Neuro Authentic Persuasion. Isn't that amazing? Only because I did an audit on my life that I actually came up with the program. So this is why you need to book a strategy session with me, because we can go through some of this stuff in 30, 45 minutes. And we're not going to do the full life audit. That's what my program is for. But at least we can start generating a little bit of curiosity and go back a little bit. And you'll be shocked at the common theme that is in your life that maybe you weren't aware of until you talk to somebody. And I'm not a counselor or a therapist or anything like that, but I just know that for every crappy experience that we have, there's a DNA inside that crappy experience that gives you the solution to have a better life. I know that's deep, but I'm telling you, when you start talking about it, I have a flood of products in my mind right now that are coming out simply because I did a life audit. Crazy. I know, it's crazy. And all of a sudden my confidence goes up. My authenticity goes up, and then now my authority goes up, and now I could charge what I want. So there you go. So if you've watched this video to the end, and I know it's a bit of a long one, feel free to click on the booking link, book a strategy session with me, and just pick a time slot that works for you. I believe I stretched it out over the next couple of weeks. Pick something that works for you. Most of them are in the afternoon. Let me know. And that is pretty much it. Thanks for listening. Bye.